And he's got big wheels to fill. But I'll say this, it's a nice place to start for Alex Bowman, who starts on the pole after replacing the retired Dale Earnhardt Jr. Really, when it comes to these Daytona 500s, the youthful cup runneth over. Bowman's 24, he wins the pole. Chase Elliott's 22, and Ryan Blaney, 24, both win qualifying races. So Bowman, Elliott, and Blaney, 3 of the 7 drivers in the field today, so they're under the age of 25, and don't think one of those guys can't win it, because we saw Trevor Bayne take home the checkered flag at this very race back in 2011 at the age of 20. You say NASCAR, you say races, and guess who comes in? Ricky Craven is here with us now. And while Alex Bowman is just 24, Ricky, he's been on your radar for a while now. What do you make of him as the pole sitter at this point?
Well, first off, he's never really gotten a great opportunity. He's always been on my radar because I've watched him in the lower ranks do more with less. And I guess if there were a draft in NASCAR, he wouldn't have been a first-round draft choice, which is what makes this story so much fun. Dale Earnhardt Jr., if he didn't have this obligation to the fans and to the sport, probably would have retired at the end of 2016. He gave a year to the sport, took one for the team, and signs off. And in the meantime, Alex Bowman basically sits on the sideline. He's like sitting behind Brett Favre, waiting for him to retire. He's Aaron Rodgers, if you will.
Sure.
And he's finally getting his chance, and he will make good on it.
So this is a player and a driver who's just patiently gotten the opportunity. Now he'll have it on the biggest stage today.
Today, starts on the pole. I don't expect him to win the race, but I do expect him to make noise as the season goes along. He did all the simulation work last year for Hendrick Motorsports. That's like grinding it out every practice. You know, like, I don't know if the starting NFL quarterback gets hit in practice. I wouldn't think he'd get hit a lot, but the backup quarterback probably does. That's what Alex Bowman did all of 2017, was just grind it out, didn't race, could have raced for other teams, but he said, no, I'm going to wait because I'm going to be rewarded, and Rick Hendrick rewarded him. All
right, Ricky, I want you to sit tight because we now have the pleasure of welcoming in Alex Bowman, really great producer, and we talk him up. He starts on the pole this afternoon in Daytona. And Alex, we have to start with what you just heard out of Ricky Craven. What do you make of a highly respected NASCAR veteran in Ricky speaking so highly of you and your racing ability?
Yeah, it means the world to me. You know, it's a dream come true to be driving for Hendrick Motorsports down here in Daytona, but to have somebody like Ricky saying nice things about me definitely makes me feel good. So very appreciative of everybody's support. It's been a lot of fun down here so far, and hopefully we keep this nationwide up front all day.
And for those that are NASCAR novices, I mentioned it, you've got big wheels to fill. Of course, you're replacing this season the 88 car. I want you to take me back to that moment you found out that you were going to be racing full-time in the car that Junior made famous.
Yeah, I was actually running the simulator, and I was on lunch break, and I walked to a grocery store that had like a little deli and got some food, and my phone rang, and it was Mr. Hendrick, and he's like, "Hey, we got everything put together, and you're all set. You're gonna be driving the 88 car next year." So it was a really special moment. You know, it's the way my career went. I never thought I'd get an opportunity like this. So I think I'm better from my experiences driving for smaller teams, and it definitely makes me appreciate an opportunity like this much more. So I'm going to do everything I can to make the most of it and have a bunch of fun doing it.
Alex, I want to ask you a question kind of alluding to what Ricky said a second ago. If this was a draft, said you wouldn't have been considered a first-round pick. What have you had to do in your career to get to the point where you are starting from the pole in the Super Bowl of racing?
I'm sorry, say that again. I had a bunch of noise in the background. I'm sorry.
Ricky had said it a second ago that if this was a draft, you wouldn't have necessarily been a first-round pick. So what did you have to do in your career to get to the point of where now you're starting on the pole in the Super Bowl of racing?
Yeah, I mean, I started racing quarter midgets when I was 7. I went sprint car midget racing from there. I won a bunch of races in pretty much everything I drove growing up, and ran the East Series. Won Rookie of the Year in that, won a bunch of ARCA races, and then when I went nationwide racing, what's now Xfinity Racing, I just drove for a small team, and we ran better than we probably should have, but nothing incredibly special. And then when I went Cup racing, it was for really, really small teams, and just kind of try to make the most of opportunities. It's kind of crazy. I've never even come to Daytona locked into the 500, so to come down here with a car capable of winning the pole is vastly different than any other Daytona experience I've had. But, you know, from there, drove for a lot of small teams, lost my ride 2 weeks before the Daytona 500 in 16. And by the end of the year, I was filling in for Dale and driving the 88 car. So everything happens for a reason. Just tried to work as hard as I could and make the most out of every opportunity that I was given.
I'm glad you mentioned that because you competed on Thursday in the Can-Am dual races and you finished kind of middle of the pack. Afterwards, 2014 Cup champion Kevin Harvick, critical of your performance, he said you didn't learn anything during the race. What was your reaction to hearing that?
Yeah, I have a lot of respect for Kevin. I've been a Kevin Harvick fan for a long time, and I think for me and for our 88 team, you know, that's kind of a tough situation for us. The impound race, or the dual is now an impound race. Our car was obviously very trimmed out, and in qualifying trim would have been a handful in the race. And even if I raced it to see what the car was going to do, it doesn't really help us learn for the 500 because our setup for the 500 is completely different. So, you know, I think those guys would have been critical either way. If I went out and wrecked the car, I would have gotten a whole bunch of why were you even racing it? So, you know, people are going to be critical no matter what you do. But I have a lot of respect for Kevin, and definitely in a perfect world would like to have drafted a little more. But, you know, fans come to watch us on Sundays, and we're starting on the pole today, and that's what matters.
Alex, this is Ricky. You earned the pole position for the Daytona 500, and you did the right thing. Who wouldn't want to secure that spot? But it's been a relatively easy week for you because you did win the pole. Tell me, or tell the world, what it's like to go to bed at night, you're rookie or you're early in your career, NASCAR, and you're going to lead the field in tomorrow's Daytona 500. How well did you sleep? Yeah,
I slept fine. You know, it's so different for me to come to these races. It's so much less pressure knowing that I have a great race car to drive on Sundays. You know, I just kind of can enjoy it so much more. You know, I'm not making myself worry too much because I'm just here to have fun. You know, I've had a lot of different experiences in my career and stressed myself out too much at times, and really worried about how I ran or what people thought way more than I should. So I'm just here to have fun. At the end of the day, I have the best job in the world driving a race car. You know, I don't know how long this is going to last or how long I'm going to be driving race cars for. So I'm going to be here having fun, doing the best I can to keep that 88 up front.
I'm trying to avoid this pun here, but I think it's kind of fitting based on what you said. Enjoy the ride. What? I'm just saying. Like, he said, I don't know how long this is going to last, so enjoy the ride. Alex Bowman, thanks for joining us. Good luck today, and congratulations.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Plenty of good stories to the Daytona 500 today. Ricky, before we get you out of here, we've got to lean on your car expertise. Last hour, Elle actually misspoke on SportsCenter.
I didn't.
And so I need you to take a look at this picture at the photo finish, and I need you to what is the front of that car called?
Well, the lower part is the valence. And
a valence.
So we're super wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but the very front of it would be a bumper. Surely you know what that is. You've used that. I've seen.
No, I said he wins by a nose. Which, right? Like, I understand that that's not a correct NASCAR term, but your layman's term is like he wins by a nose.
Yeah, he had 500 horses.
The Twitter was what's the splitter?
The splitter?
Yeah.
That was the term for the Cup cars, and it's a piece that splits the air. Isn't it amazing that the official finish was .000? In other words, they don't go to the fourth decimal. And
so he wins by the skin of his bumper, is what you're saying.
No, you're right. He won by a nose.
Thank you. See, I was right all along, Matt, and you were wrong.
We've milked the oil out of this debate. Ricky, thanks.
Called it the hood.
Thanks for what?
Thanks for what?